Hello, Rockstars. Welcome to the June Team Rockstar Fit monthly Zoom. You are going to be blown away by the content and the authenticity that you are about to hear. So I have on the line with me, super excited to have special guests, Brian and Lindsey Thompson from Connecticut. Hello.
Hi.
I will do a quick introduction of them both, and then we'll launch into some questions. The theme of this Zoom is very appropriately called Teamwork Makes the Dream Work. So think about this. Teamwork, the two of them uniting and running their Beachbody business together with separate roles and separate responsibilities, separate talents, but them collaborating and supporting each other is making their families' dreams come true, which is what I want you to hear about on the Zoom today. How you can work with your significant other, partner, or spouse to make this business even better. And I want you to specifically dig into and hear Lindsey's story of where she started and who she has become. If this Zoom does not move you, nothing will. There's my comments for you. So Lindsey is a stay-at-home mom of two kids. She has Lila, who's almost 6, and Jack, who is 3. They live in Canton, Connecticut. She's currently a diamond level coach, but she is a lifetime 2-star diamond and is on her way back there. Brian is a CIO of a mortgage company. He just shared with me that when he started there about 8 years ago, there's only a handful of employees. I think he was number 12. Now they have 300 employees, and he has helped launch many new divisions within that company. So he is a smart, savvy, entrepreneurial kind of guy. Anyway, I do recall that he even has a background in fitness. Maybe used to be a personal trainer. I won't ask you to show me your abs, Brian, but I know they're there.
Thank you.
So welcome. Thanks for coordinating this and being on. I know you are busy parents and you're everywhere from the dentist to kids school to preschool to work. So I appreciate that you carved out time to educate others. So Lindsey, we're going to dive right in. And I just want you to share with our audience, why did you join Beachbody? What were you looking for in your life at that time, and where did this fit?
Cool. Yeah, sure. And thank you so much for having us. It feels like the past 2 years have kind of been a whirlwind. Back in April 2013, I was I was a mom. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had 2 small kids, and I just really felt lost in my roles as mom and wife. I struggled with taking care of everybody else, putting everyone else's needs first, and really just was like, okay, time out. It's something I need some time for myself. Brian was our sole provider for our family, and he traveled a lot. His business was, he was on the road a lot. So there wasn't a whole lot of time to leave the house, get a mental break. And so I decided one day, okay, you know what? I'm taking some time for myself. And the only time I had was 6 a.m. And what else are you going to do at 6 a.m. than work out? Which was crazy because I despised fitness at that point, but I just was so desperate to have some time for myself. And Brian used to be a personal trainer when I first met him. And so he had a bunch of the old Beachbody workout programs in the basement. And I was like, you know what, for 2 weeks, I hate fitness, but I'm going to trek down there for 2 weeks. I'm going to commit for 2 and see how I feel. And if I don't like it, then I'm done. I don't have to. I also kept a little stash of magazines down there in case I really didn't like it and just had my alone time down there. But I pushed through, and I found that after 2 weeks, I just felt incredible. I felt like I was starting to get strong. I felt my mood shifted. I felt a sense of happiness that I hadn't felt in a really long time that spilled over, into so many other roles in my life. So I went with that and I kept going. And it was around the same time it was Brian's birthday, and he wanted a bag of this thing called Shakeology. And I was like, are you crazy? No, we're not doing that. But it was
Why did you think it was crazy? Clarify. Why was it crazy?
Well, because I thought it was a protein powder. And I said, GNC has that same, junk down the road for a quarter of the price.
Yep.
But of course he, having been in the fitness industry before, had experience with it. So he knew that it was awesome stuff. And he said, it's my birthday. And I said, okay. So we got a bag. And the funny thing is that I think he probably had 3 or 4 out of the whole bag, because all of a sudden I started trying them and I'm like, whoa, between the fitness, the shakes, my energy just went through the roof. And I was this mom that just sat on the sidelines at the park. I didn't have energy. I felt just blah across the board. And so between the shakes, the workout, I was just like, I felt like a new woman. And I was like, we have to do this. Like, I don't know what's in this, but we have to do this. We have to make it work. So Brian did like it as well. So we went on to get 2 bags of Shakeology. And at that point, financially, I was like, okay, we need to, become a discount coach. So basically, fast forward, we signed up to be a discount coach. And I just did that for 6 months, and I just felt so good. And I started seeing the difference of how I was feeling 6 months after compared to how, some of my friends were still feeling, my mom friends that were still sitting on the sidelines at the park, right? Just not feeling their best selves. And it was just crazy that at the same time, Danielle, my upline star diamond, reached out to me and said, they're launching this new thing. It's called, coach training, rock the basics. There's an exclusive group of people that are going to, go into it, new coaches. What do you think? And I was like, nope, like, no. Not first things I said was not a salesperson. I don't like people. I don't want to talk to people. I was just a completely kind of in a different mindset than I was scared. It was really just fear. And so I, with a little convincing and encouragement, went into Rock the Basics, the very first round of Rock the Basics. And the rest is history. I immediately fell in love with everything that it represented, a source of positivity. I didn't have that my whole life. I can call myself like a recovering pessimist, right? I was an introvert, and it forced me out of my comfort zone. I now had the power. I had a gift in my hands that I could pay it forward to other women, other moms more specifically. And I couldn't not run with that. It was just right there in front of me. And I say the same thing to all coaches now, like, you have this gift in your hands. What are you going to choose to do with it? So that's how I kind of got started.
Coaches, can you feel Lindsey's energy? I'm like, if you can't, shake yourselves right now, because when I first met her, even a couple of years ago, there's no way that she would have launched into how fitness has changed her life, and these shakes have fueled her, and she's a confident person, and she wants to pay it forward, and it's a gift to give others. And this has come through self-discovery. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how this has all happened today. But I want you to recognize that the woman speaking in front of you has had quite the journey and is so driven to pay this forward to other women. So I want them to hear more about the before and your after, which is kind of where you are now. Brian, let me have you interject here for a second, because, significant others get involved in all different ways, or not at all, or are barriers to the business. I mean, it's one of many. So when Lindsey, anti-fitness girl, said that she wanted to join Beachbody, what was your initial reaction to that?
So initially, so my background, as you touched on before, I went to school for my undergrad was exercise physiology, kinesiology, biochem. That was kind of the major staples of the major that I studied. And so I was mostly excited. I saw it as something that, she could be amazing at, something that other than, the mom role that she had mentioned, she could focus on, which at the time she really needed. There were some times that were tough for her, and that mom role right after having our second baby, our son Jack, she needed something else other than just being the mom, so to speak. And Beachbody was that outlet for her, and it taught her so much about herself. And I was ecstatic about that. And I think I would suggest that many, if not all, moms need something like that, because you're not just a mom, you're a person first. And when you're that person first and you show up as that person first, you're going to be a better mom anyway. And so Beachbody was that for Lindsey, and that became her thing, and the one skepticism that I had was, it wasn't about nutrition, because she was always into nutrition. She always loved researching nutrition. She's a researcher for sure. But she looks into everything. But my skepticism really was only for her love of fitness, and that was something I've always loved, but it wasn't anything that I was going to bring up because I was just going to be supportive, because I knew her journey was not about losing weight. It was more about being healthy, being fit, and emotional health. So I never wanted to be that barrier, as you suggested, in this business is hard enough. Any small business is hard enough. So, of any kind, and it's hard work already. So I didn't want to be that barrier. So, excited, yes. Skeptical, only on the fitness piece, but she dug in and really took hold of it, and now loves it. So it's great.
You guys have so much to say. I really hope that coaches, so I just always have to show this at the beginning. I think it's funny. I have notes already on you. And in the past 10 minutes that we've talked, I already have pages of more notes. You say so many things that are so valuable because coaches, you are going to come across someone like Lindsey who is sitting on the sidelines of life, who was lacking confidence and didn't embrace fitness and only saw maybe fitness as something that athletes did. You're going to come across somebody, like Brian, who has a background in fitness and maybe doesn't know that this opportunity exists. You have to be able to take their story and pay it forward and tell other people, hey, you're not alone feeling like you're on the sidelines. You're not alone feeling like you're lost in your role as a mom. Let me tell you about Lindsey. You're not alone in thinking that, there is a way as a personal trainer that you could be involved in fitness today in a meaningful way. Let me tell you about Brian. So coaches, listen from that ear of what are they teaching you about this business that you can take to grow your own. So Lindsey, Brian referenced it that, skeptical about your love of fitness because you hadn't been, and you weren't in it to lose weight. So I want you to spend a little bit more time just telling us about your journey in health and fitness because it goes deeper than, than trying to be buff. So why don't you tell us where you used to be?
Yeah. It's crazy because when I share with people my background, like my history, they're blown away. Like they don't, they see where I'm at present day and, muscles and push-ups and, like challenging my body, but it wasn't always that way. I actually never worked out in my life. I actually despised fitness. I was born tall and lanky, as a lot of people referred to me my whole life. But that, doesn't, just because I'm slim doesn't mean that I was healthy, because I wasn't. I suffered from stomach issues from, my second pregnancy. I suffered my whole life from anxiety and panic attacks. I suffered with depression, especially postpartum depression, which is why I'm so passionate now with helping other moms. And that really, my transformation, yes, I'm stronger on the outside, but my bigger transformation is everything that's happened on the inside. Growing up in a rather kind of like negative, you're not good enough type of environment, low in confidence and all of that, knowing that I can challenge my body now, that I have the tools that are going to get me stronger, get me healthier, get me more energized. I feel like I've totally transformed. I feel like I'm a 180 from where I was just 2 short years ago. And then because I take care of myself physically and I've challenged myself, it's boosted every other area of my life, and that spills over into my relationships and being a better mom and being a better wife most of the time. And, it's just kind of, it's catapulted everything, from taking the time to, just get to a better place. I always try to follow that philosophy of just do it a little bit better than you did yesterday, and by doing that over time, it's gotten me to where I am present day. And, I put up a post and it'll be, showing my, flexing, like Flex Friday. And people will be like, oh my gosh, you're such an inspiration. I'm like, it's just that I just took the time for myself. You didn't see me 2 years ago when I was the depressed mom, like sitting on the bench, just unhealthy inside and out. And so it's transformed everything. But I had to initially make the commitment, I had to say, I'm going to do it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I had to,
so that's actually, yeah. Lindsey, that's exactly the piece I was going to go to. So good segue, because what I want coaches to hear right now is that we are seeing Lindsey today. And as the deeper we go in this, you're going to hear about their successes, financial successes, family successes. But I need you to just focus right now we're talking about Lindsey being invited, she got in a fitness program down in her basement as a depressed mom. She tried some Shakeology. It only took 2 weeks, 2 weeks of her life to show her the light potentially at the end of the tunnel that could show her what life could be like. So if you are thinking that your challenge groups don't really matter, or that what could you possibly do to help somebody in 2 weeks or 21 days? You're not hearing the story right now. That you need to recognize that Lindsey in 2 weeks showed her a new version of herself. And that is that deep and that powerful. You never know what spark is going to light for somebody, but if you're not inviting, you're not giving them the opportunity to change. Mm-hmm. So I love that you shared that. I love that you were raw about the anxiety, the postpartum depression, you know, the body of being tall and lanky and not necessarily healthy. And, that's incredible. So Lindsey, tell us how, I want to just insert this part here at the beginning. You have this journey and you don't hide it anymore. And so how complicated or not complicated is it for you to share the story? Where are you sharing it and what are you saying?
So I came from this person that I called myself like this Facebook stalker person, right? Before I started becoming an active coach, where I would, go on Facebook and I would look at everybody else's pictures and posts and never like anything, never comment, never post anything myself, except for maybe a cute picture of my kid, but I just always hid because of the fear of what everybody was going to think. Right. So, getting myself into, rock the basics and making the commitment to myself that I'm going to go with this because I believe in it so much. And I know what it's done for me that I have to push past that fear and put myself out there. So I, put up a transformation post, kind of doing like a little kickoff about what I was doing. And it talked about my journey. I was scared to death to hit post when I hit that. Brian was there and I went back and forth, paced like in and out of the room, right? I probably had a glass of wine and then I hit post. But it so empowered me. It empowered me. It helped me. Like I made the commitment to never, I'm going to be scared, but I'm never going to let it stop me because I know that I want to care more about helping all those people out there that might be touched by it. And caring less about what some people might think, and the more I dive into personal development over these past 2 years, fear is just this made up thing that we do to ourselves and it prevents so much growth. We don't live up to our potential because we let the fear get in the way. And it's only been through Rock the Basics and Beachbody and nonstop personal development that's allowed me to showcase that. So I am a person that actually, when I first started, I'm a total nerd and I have no idea about technology. So I actually, when I became a Beachbody coach actively, I still had I was still T9 texting like on a flip phone. I didn't even have like a smartphone yet. I'm such a dork, but I wasn't into it, and so I just focused on my personal page. I focused on the friends that I already had on there. I focused on what they teach us in Rock the Basics, how to expand, how to connect with other people, how to private message people, how to have conversations. Mm-hmm. I focused on putting myself out there consistently face to face. So when I went to the moms group, instead of being the mom that was like, quiet because I didn't want anybody to judge me, I just started having conversations. And the more I did that, the more comfortable it just became. It's like a muscle, right? The more you work it, it just gets stronger. So I just didn't stop. I just kept pushing it a little bit more, get better every little bit, like a little bit every day. And I focused on my personal page and I just kept sharing things. I really wanted to help other moms know about nutrition a little bit more, know that they could do it. So I would just share tips on my personal page and I focused solely on that, mostly because I had no idea how to do anything else. To this day, Instagram is so confusing. I just started a Facebook like page like last week. So I really have grown my business solely on face-to-face and my personal Facebook page, which is crazy, that I focused on that, and I went from like 200 Facebook friends to now I think I'm at like 1,200. And, to me, that still feels like it's slower compared to what other coaches can be doing. So, but I think my passion just kept shining through. And I think that instead of having a huge quantity and trying to like get myself all over the place with so many different forms of technology, I just had to focus on one thing. And when I mastered that, like now I feel like I mastered that, I need to branch out and do the Facebook like page and learn Instagram. So, but it was just a constant flow of putting yourself out there, whether it was a food tip or a personal thing. Like I had to get out of my own way all the time. And because of Brian, there was a lot of times that I probably wouldn't have, but he would just like shout from the other room, like, get out of your own way, or say something, and I would push posts and like go about my business, So I really.
So Lindsey has just like taken a hammer to so many barriers and excuses that coaches put up. So let me recap a couple of these for you. So what if you're not great at technology? Oh, I don't even know what T9 texting is. And apparently it's something very archaic. And this is 2 years ago. So I'm in Northern Michigan and I'm even more ahead than Lindsey Thompson. I think my dad doesn't even use that kind of texting. He's 75.
It's so embarrassing.
Right? No, it's awesome. It's awesome because these are barriers and excuses people give themselves. What if you're not great on Facebook? She was barely even on it. Right. She was stalking people but not commenting. What if you're not great at technology? Clearly, we've established that. What if you have fear? Lindsey was the epitome of fear and scaredness until she got to the point where she wasn't going to let it define her. What if you don't feel like you have anything to share? Well, Lindsey wasn't an expert other than she was an expert in how she made healthy meals for her family, a nutrition tip that worked for her. Why is that not a valid expertise? It is. It's what is working for you in everyday life. It's sharing that. I have to say that watching Lindsey's Facebook over the years, she became more outward, energetic, more forward version of Lindsey, but she did not change who she was. And that is key, that she didn't go from, she's not posting nonstop Beachbody, vomit, nutrition, fitness all the time. She's also posting about life and ups and downs and family and travel and kids and all kinds of things. So she's still being all her, but just a better version of her. So these are tips that you want to share with your coaches. And the best thing that Lindsey just said, in my view, very subjectively, is my favorite phrase, which is what the focus.
Focus. Yeah. And you know what? Last night I hosted our, actually Maria Curry and I had Team Reborn is our team. And Lisa Pisak was our guest speaker. We interviewed some of our team members and she phrased it perfectly. Be an expert at your own story. Like be an expert at your own story. Like nobody can tell you about your own story, only you. And by constantly putting it out there and sharing that, yeah, guess what? My house is a mess, or my kid had a meltdown in Target, or like, this is what I do because I'm a busy mom and my house is in chaos. Like this is how I do a quick crock pot meal. Right. But then slowly over time, people get the message that you're constantly improving. And I'm the only one that's in charge, right, of sharing my story. So nobody's going to know unless I put it out there.
So I love that you have focused on your own story, and I love that you're focused, just to be super logistical about it, I love that you focus on a medium, because our coaches get so distracted by the shiny objects of every place they think they're supposed to be, whether it's Instagram or Pinterest or YouTube or Vine or Snapchat, or if you're 11, or Facebook or like pages or whatever it is, websites. Like, I want to make sure everyone hears this. We're going to move on, but it's critical. Lindsey built a very thriving, lifetime 2-star diamond business with a phone, with her computer, and with a personal page, and talking to people in person. So people who think that you need all these funnels and emails and everything, God, go for it if that's where you are and that's where your expertise is, but don't convince yourself that that's what you need to get started. Okay. So I love it. Okay. Let me go to just one more quick question for Lindsey, and I'll go back to Brian. So just, you've mentioned some of them, but just recap. What do you feel like were the tools that have helped you become who you are, the actual physical learning tools?
So 3 right off the bat that have been a huge part of me becoming a better person and growing my business was 1, rock the basics, 2, personal development, and 3, my support team, I call them. Rock the basics gave me liftoff. It was the firecracker that sparked this whole thing, right? I started to live who I was meant to be because I was starting to be surrounded by people that might have had the same past as me, but they've advanced, right? Giving me the tools to now pay it forward, how good I was feeling, how to have conversations, the logistical business stuff. But the constant source of positivity and team feel was something that I lacked my whole life. Like I didn't have that. So I became addicted to it. And I can't think of a better way to grow a business. Like there's business owners start businesses all over the place, but I can't think of a better way to start a business than having super successful coaches spoon feed you the information, to grow your business successfully. And that's what Rock the Basics is. So I that gave me a lift off. Like that just sparked everything. Personal development across the board. I remember when I started, a top coach, I don't remember who, but said, if you're not doing personal development, it's going to be really hard. You're making your journey extra hard. And I realized that very early on, that the way that my conversations flowed, how positive I felt, everything was, based on, was I getting my personal development in? We can take the time to eat, drink the shake, do the workout, but are you feeding your brain with the good stuff, right? That has such a huge impact. So I dove into that. And on the times when I felt like I was struggling, or there was a day when I was like, I can't form with one more person. Like, I don't want to ask one more person what their goal is, right? I would shut it down. And I tell the same thing to my coaches: shut it down, get rest. And I immersed myself in personal development. I wanted to soak up every last bit. And then the third thing is my support team, I call them. Obviously, Brian has been my rock from the beginning, always a super positive source of support in this business. Shelly Gonzalez, my success partner. She's my soul sister. We found each other through Rock the Basics. We were both in that very first round of Rock the Basics together, which is why I share with my coaches, find a success partner, look for them in Rock the Basics. She has been another rock. And then of course, Maria Curry, she's my best friend in life before this, but we do Team Reborn. And Danielle, she introduced me to this whole thing, Danielle. And so I leaned on them, right? Because this business is incredible, but it's not always unicorns and rainbows, right? There's going to be hard days. It is work. Sometimes it is work, but sometimes it's really hard work. It's self-work. It's putting yourself out there. There's so many components of this business. And unless you have a support team, people that you can go to, it was a couple weeks ago, I messaged Shelly and I was like, all I said was, okay, I need a pep talk, just give me a pep talk, because it was just not a great day. And she knew, she knows my story. Brian will do the same thing. So it's just surrounding yourself with people that can help you grow to become a better person, and they're there for you. And then the fourth thing I just want to touch on is live events. I feel like it should be the fourth vital behavior. If you can work all day behind your computer, messaging people, right? Or posting on Facebook, but there's nothing like being in the room at a Super Saturday with a couple hundred people, or a summit. This is so much larger than just the post that you're stressing about putting up on Facebook, right? Get yourself connected with people that are near you. Reach out to go to your local Super Saturday. Summit it's an expense. I know that, but what you will take away from those events are so much more powerful and life-changing than, not going. And so I think that, I really encourage my coaches. Sometimes I host like raffles. Like if you go to Super Saturday, I'm putting your name in like, a raffle bin, and I'll pull somebody out that's going to win a prize. And usually it's personal development. I'll do sometimes personal development raffles on my team. Like if you listen to personal development today, tell me by the end of the day, or I'll post a link to a call that really hits home. And I'll say, you have until 10 o'clock to send me 3 takeaways. And if you do, you get entered to win an iTunes gift card or something like that. So I think that those 4 things are massive. They're so important to growing your business. And if your business is not going well, chances are, if you take a step back and you look at it, one of those things is just not happening.
That's just brilliance right there. And a couple things I like to recap, and then we'll go to Brian, is that, okay, so Rock the Basics, critical. Don't try to do this on your own coaches. Take the lessons, make them your own if you need to. Stay in touch with your coaches who are in it, but don't reinvent the wheel, right? It is a lot of work to get that thing off the ground. Lindsey and Shelly were in our pilot program. And, part of the reason why that worked is that they took it seriously. Part of the reason why it worked is that we took it seriously and we checked in on them. So if one of those 2 pieces is missing, it's not going to work. It's not magic. If you just invite somebody in, but they don't know the value of what it could be, they don't feel like it's important, they don't feel like it's special to be in it, and you're not checking in on them, it's not going to happen, right? Number 2, personal development. And I've heard so many of our national wake-up calls have been about personal development, not about scripts, not about, how to earn more points. Our calls are on personal development because you will take yourself where you see that you can go. You will take yourself where you see you can go. And if you don't think you can go there, no script is going to get you there. All right. Number 3, her success team. One of the questions I ask in every GSR, I send out 10 questions. Question number 10 is, who is your support team? And I know off the bat, if someone doesn't have any support team, they don't have their best friend, their sister, their mom, their spouse, whomever on board, I cannot be the only person for them. So it's a conversation you need to have. And then next time you have the conversation, you're going to reference Lindsey. You're going to say she's got her husband, she's got her best friend, and she's got another coach. That's her support team. Who is yours, right? Use that. Then number 4, going to live events. What a cool thing that you do some fun raffles for your team. And Lindsey, I think sometimes coaches feel like they need permission to do something new like that. No one granted you permission to come up with a fun raffle. You just said, what would get people to go to Super Saturday, right? And you just unleash your own creativity.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, sometimes that people need a little, push sometimes, and we all do, but just going back to the support system too, I feel like, not everybody comes into this business with a super supportive spouse. And I know that, I, have that in Brian, and I feel incredibly blessed across the board in life, but with this business opportunity as well. But if it's not your spouse, don't let that stop you, right? Invite them, share with them what it really means to you. But if it's something that you're passionate about and it's something that you believe in so much, seek out the people that are going to support you in that. It doesn't mean you need a divorce. It doesn't mean you're but find people that are going to check in with you, that are going to say, I'm so proud of you. How can I help you? Right? It's so hugely important, in my opinion, to have that in place.
And Lindsey, the simple example that I give to people a lot is that just as, I own a health club, so I see a lot of people come through the doors in health and fitness in addition to my online business, right? But oftentimes it is one person in the household that starts a fitness program. You wouldn't tell that person, you wouldn't say, oh, you should quit working out, because if your spouse isn't working out, you shouldn't either. Same with this business. One person might come to it first. The other person might never take hold of it, but they might take hold of it a year down the road. It doesn't stop you from doing what you're meant to do in life. You can't control other people's decisions or actions. So, Brian, let me go to you. First, you can make any reactions to what you've heard so far, but then I want you to tell people, when did you dig in and how did you dig in and start learning about the business?
Yeah. So initially I'd like to actually talk two points that Lindsey brought up. Success partner. I mean, that for Lindsey, I think has been a huge change for her. I mean, I am the husband, right? And I can give as much advice as I want, but I'm still the husband, and it is what it is, right? I mean, that's how it is. But I mean, I'd have to thank Shelly, because she's been amazing for Lindsey. And that's when something comes up in the business that Lindsey has a question on, she asks me. It's one of the questions I often ask is, have you talked to Shelly about it? And because it's a perspective that I don't have necessarily, and I'll give my perspective obviously, but hers is extremely valuable as well. So that's really important, and thanks to Shelly, because she rocks. So, and then the other part too, I just wanted to make a point about Rock the Basics. And one of the things that I've done, and it's more to make a point that Rock the Basics works and training works, and the time and the value that's involved in Rock the Basics is amazing. And the reason I say that is because I've actually taken Rock the Basics and I've changed it. I took it and I brought it to our mortgage company when I was running the wholesale department with our third party originators, all that stuff. And I did a beta test with it, and I took one guy that was an average producer, and I put him through Rock the Basics for about 5-6 weeks. And I changed the content, obviously. But the basics and the principles are there. And he's now our top producer, and he has been since then. So the point is that it's the value that you can take from Rock the Basics or any of the trainings that Team Rockstar Fit has is really there. And it's really a business training and a personal development training that really is universal, and it's not just a Team Beachbody thing. So
it's awesome.
I just wanted to expound on that a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's good. So I mean, first of all, how much initiative does it take for a spouse to take a training program and say, let me just throw this thing in the blender and make it fit a mortgage company, and take an average producer, make him a top producer? I mean, obviously Brian's, intelligent and go-getter kind of guy, but it shows you that making somebody carve out time in their day for personal development and business development works. Don't get so caught up, coaches. Here's my disclaimer. Don't get too caught up in what that lesson is or that another team has a different lesson. I see coaches get so distracted by what the lessons are. The bottom line is that if you create a confident and competent coach, they will seek out other information. You don't have to put it all in front of them. They will seek out other training calls. They will find, you don't need to put everything in front of them. If you create somebody like a Lindsey, she will go scour what else is out there. She will go scan and find her own tools. We don't have to put them all in front of her, but don't freak out that one lesson over another. It's just, they did it. They're carving out time for this business. It's in their calendar. They're doing personal development. They learned something about the business. Check that off the list. Compound effect of that every single day counts more than the lessons, which of course I think are valuable. We get too caught up on all of them, in my view. So Brian, how did you start to dig in? What did you do aside from do rock the basics?
Right. So initially I was just very curious about the business and how it worked, how the money worked. Cause that's kind of how my brain works. Mortgage finance. And B, Lindsey wasn't really interested in the money aspect. So I wanted to contribute where I was interested and where I could. And I was also interested in learning how to help Lindsey reach more people and really get her message out there and be effective as possible and add as much value as possible. So specifically what I did, I watched a lot of videos on Beachbody that Beachbody puts out and that Team Rockstar fits out. So I could understand the business side of things and really help. And some other things I did specifically on what I did would be creating a general ledger. So I created a form in Google Docs that would just allow Lindsey to put in her expenses, label them, and then off of that, it just made it really easy for her. But off of that, it created 3 pivot tables, one for expenses, one for income, and one that's actual profit and loss. And what it does is basically breaks out everything so that she knows what she's spending money on, where, when, and how. And at the end of the year, which made me really happy, was that it was much easier to do taxes. So
right.
So with that, it just made things easier. And that's one of the things I've done, and I'd be more than happy to share that with everybody. But it's really simple. And I would suggest if you have an accounting system, it'd be better, but this is a free option to basically do the same thing. So, and get started with no cost. The other 2 things that I did were really just helping set up a website, as well as helping to set up Automatic CEO, which is a customer management tool. So it helps you just make sure your schedules are on and you're following up with the right people and just on top of things, basically.
That's awesome. So for Lindsey, you want to add something to that?
I was just going to say, I think, everybody comes in life, period, with different strengths, right? We all have different strengths. So mine was connecting with moms. I have no idea what a ledger is. I still so he has his strengths and I have mine. And so together, when we combine them, where I'm struggling, I ask for his help. Right. And so I think that when you have a spouse, that maybe they're not so invested in your business yet or something, I think sometimes it's just sharing with them, explaining to them, communicating to them that this is really important to you. And by the way, I need some help. Do you think, what's your idea on this? Or do you have a way to help me with this? And I think often that spouses can start resenting the business, or, it's hard for them to fully understand because they're not a part of it, right? They have no idea. It's this other thing that's happening. And when you allow them to come into that, and I asked Brian, I said, can you go through Rock the Basics, right? I want you to know what it's about. I want you to feel what I feel. And he did that. And even if your spouse doesn't do that, or your partner, I think it's showing them a private message from a challenger that says, oh my gosh, you helped save my life. I'm back in my pre-pregnancy jeans, or inviting them to listen to these monthly team Zoom, the Zooms. They're going to take away something different, but they're also going to add their strength if you allow them, if you share that with them and you invite them in and make it a family thing, right? A partnership in the whole thing. So he picks up, he adds his strengths where I'm super weak, and together that's why this has worked well for us.
I mean, that's just a killer recap right there. If coaches are looking for ways to get their significant other involved, Lindsey just gave you a whole bunch of ideas. One, I mean, the basic of everything that she said, the foundation was communication, telling them why this matters to you, showing them a message, screenshotting a message, like showing them inside one of your groups, showing them what you do, because it does look like you're just hanging out playing games on Facebook, right? You're not doing Bejeweled here. You're changing people's lives, but they don't know that. So it is very true that spouses can start to resent the business because it looks like time away from the family, and it is often misunderstood what we're doing. So that is partly on the coach to explain and to show and to bring in and to share the goals. And she gave you examples of, what are they good at? What are their strengths? And, are they good at spreadsheets or tracking expenses or collecting receipts? Or, Brian obviously sets the bar really high, and I don't want to get too into the website or the automatic CEO, because that's going to be beyond where some people are here. But it does set the tone that if you want to get involved, there are ways to get involved. If you want to contribute, there are ways to do that. At the very least, just help out. Lindsey, I'm actually going to have you do your PS right now. What are a couple other things that anyone can do this? So tell them right now.
Yeah. Well, I was just, that's great. Like spreadsheets, like that is huge and it helps. But, literally knowing that you just folded the load of laundry, I think blows the ledger out of the water. Right. And it's like, we have kids, we're busy. Our house is a disaster 99.9% of the time, unless someone's coming over. Like, if I said to him, this is what I need right now, I'm passionate about this. This is my passion. I've supported you in your business. And I need your support. What I need from you is, can you help me cook dinner on Thursday nights? I'll be on a team Zoom, and he'll just, can I have a glass of water? It's like anything. It's like just being a support. And just like if he was leading his business, right, I would want to support him in that. And I wouldn't know how to do that unless he shared with me what's the best way to do that. So I agree with you that a lot falls on the coach. Does your spouse know how important this is to you? Have you invited them to be a part of it? And then once you've done that and you've answered that question, have you said to them, I need this from you, or can you help me with this? Right. Or, emptying the dishwasher is like amazing. Like, right. Because in the beginning, I think it's hard for them to, to grasp that, because it is a compound business and it takes a while to build up, and you are on Facebook and they're not fully aware of what you're doing while you're on there. But that's where inviting them in to look at the challenge groups or see the messages or do these team calls and see, inviting them to the men's group or, looking at the business opportunity. There's so many ways. Just, are you sharing it? Like, are you communicating that? And letting them know what you need. I think that is like a basic relationship thing. But I think, this business has helped us do that, try to communicate better. And by no means are we like, we're still married, so it's like, can you just empty the dishwasher? Sometimes it's like that. Right. But it's just the consistent, like, this is what I need, or, let's shut down the computer and have some family time. And he does the same thing to me. You know what? You've been on the computer a lot. Let's, go outside. Like, let's schedule a family day for just the kids, things like that. So it's just being a constant support in whatever way.
This should be like a training for Beachbody. I really feel like I need Carl to watch this and say, endorse this, because so much of coaching isn't about the invite.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. It's about saying, having barriers and boundaries and saying, hey, you've been on Facebook a lot. Like, let's get outside. And hey, we need to sit down and communicate. And even folding laundry would help me with this. And I have to interject, Lindsey, just give my husband Jeff a shout out, because all the things that you mentioned, he has unloaded the dishwasher, and God, everyone knows he cooks more dinners than I do. Right. I was cooking dinner the other night, and he almost stopped the world to look. Right. And oftentimes I am holding my laptop, sprinting up the stairs to my office. He'll be yelling behind me, what do you need? Tea or water?
Oh.
And he'll just bring it up and say, good luck tonight. And when I couldn't get my cell phone coverage in my office, he got a home line installed in my office. I mean, anything.
Yeah.
Right.
It could be tiny. It could
be
huge.
Right. Go so far. Right.
Yeah.
It goes so far. So, awesome. Okay. So Brian, how did this go from being, just Lindsey's business to a family business? And just talk to us about that concept.
Yeah. So initially it became Well, so it became a family business in that we basically worked on it together, right? And we started to see a future for the business as a family and not just as an individual. But the real point that it became a family business is less about what I'm currently doing or what I was doing in the past, and much more of a mindset for me. And that mindset change of being, yes, this is Lindsey's business and I'm helping her with it. So prior to that mindset change, like I said, I was helping her with her business, but recently it's become a family business. Really after a couple comments that we had that were made on a Zoom with Team Rockstar Fit's Men's Success Lounge, Be a Better Man, and it's a new group that was started. And where this was mentioned briefly, it's a family business, but and it really had an impact on me and how I viewed the business. And it's not so much just Lindsey. Yes, I'm a coach, but yes, Lindsey is a coach, and I've been helping her grow her business. But really, it's our business. It's our family's business, and we're doing this together, and that's how we're working together now. And that really changed for me in terms of turning into a family business.
Tell us about, it's just, you said so many great things there. People got it. It was this idea that even though she has a different face of the business and it has different activities in the business, it went from being her thing that you support, which is still great, coaches, but Sure. It wasn't Lindsey's thing that Brian supported. All of a sudden it was like, no, this is our family business and we each have different roles in it. And it just has such a greater value, right, Lindsey?
Yeah. And I think that a huge turning point was the Success Club trip to Cancun.
I was just going to say, tell us about Cancun, yes, Brian.
Because Brian has been supportive, right, from the beginning, but it was being immersed at a live event among people to know that this is larger than Lindsey putting up a Facebook post. Yeah. I am surrounded by people that are positive, healthy, fit, fun, focused, and now creating a financial future together as a family, right? And something distinctly shifted in him when we were on that Cancun trip. And I think that's why it's so important to invite your spouse and your partner and your kids, bring them to Super Saturday, like let them see you working on a passion, right? And following something. And I think that when he was present in the trip, something live, there's energy and passion at those events that you can't put into words. Mm-hmm. So allow them the opportunity to see that. And this business, has in the beginning when you're working so hard on it and you're doing all, it feels like you're making like, a couple cents an hour, like if you mm-hmm. actually figured it out, right? The finances. But when you immerse yourself in these live events with people that have walked in your shoes before and they were consistent and disciplined, and now they're at the spot in life that you want to be at or beyond, mm-hmm. right? You see that you have to believe, you have to trust the process. You have to put faith in the process that it's going to work for you, And I think when you bring along your spouse or your partner to see that too and feel that too and meet these people that have been, and I think men think they just have a tendency to think finances. Mm-hmm. Women are like, touchy-feely, we love each other, and that's not, stereotyping like all the way, but we want to empower women and we have this bond, and right. men are like, how much is this going to cost me? Right. And I think when you bring them to an event or you share with them glimpses, then they or see that. If you even get the event paid for. Right. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So Brian, talk to us about that. I want to get to just so we know where we're going. We got to get to your financial successes and your successes. And then I want to hear about Lindsey's kind of month in the life of coaching. And I love what we've covered so far. But Brian, tell us, what was it about? And for the brand new coaches listening, they went to Cancun on a Success Club trip, sponsored and paid for by Beachbody, through Lindsey's business and Brian's support in the past year, through her work in achieving Success Club and earning this trip. So they went on it recently. All coaches have the ability to earn these trips, and it's something everyone should strive to do. So if you're brand new listening, that's how it happened. Brian, you got to go. What happened in Cancun? And then we'll get to some results.
So two things I wanted to share, basically. One real quick, because I think it's really important. So when it started to change for me, and I think that's really what you're getting at, is two things are, one is a group that I've joined called the Other Half's Leader Group. And it's been a great thing for me in terms of changing, not changing, but helping me focus on and mastermind with a couple of guys that have successful lives in this business. And it's great to get involved and be on Zooms with these guys and understand where they're coming from, how to help build our wives' businesses, not as well as help build our own, if that's the case. Answer questions, make fun of each other. That's kind of the whole gig, but it's a type of like an accountability mastermind group for guys that with successful wives in the business. And I think it's really been helpful for me to get answers on questions on how to deal with some of the things that I have questions on, because I didn't know all this stuff when I started, and it's been great to be part of that group. So, but your question about Cancun, actually, I mean, it was helpful in so many ways, because it was really the first event that I've ever been to. And not just because it was in Cancun, which was really nice, but that didn't hurt. But two things about Cancun that really set my mind in a certain way, in a different direction, was listening first to Carl Deichler. Carl Deichler is actually very charismatic, very good on stage, but he speaks with an authenticity that I always wish that I had at our company. Don't tell anyone. But it's something that it's a leader. He's a leader. It's somebody that either you want to be or you want to follow. And I think that really spoke to me, because I've been looking for that, and I believe in that. And when I saw that, it made it much easier to go further in. And secondly, the people. I found the coaches were amazing, so supportive, and not only of each other, but really my wife. I mean, people were like, "Hey, Lindsey, how are you? How are you doing? Like, people were interested." And I loved that people were interested in helping her, and she was interested in helping others. So really, I guess for the first time, I experienced the culture that everyone talks about.
That's so awesome. Coaches, just a quick idea there. Don't wait until 2016 or 17 when you make a trip to give your significant other a piece of this. Get on Google or YouTube and type in Carl Deichler motivational speech or Carl Deichler Summit 2015. Yeah. Find a clip of him talking. He's all over Summit. He's all over, Super Saturday videos. Find a clip of Carl and say, this is the person that I am following along with. And this is the leader who I am leading with, right? Let people hear from him themselves. So that's a great point. And then it's kind of fun. Let's just say it. He thought it was kind of cool that people knew who Lindsey was, and that she's an impact and she's a player. He's like, oh, wow, people know my wife and her coaching. They're interested in her as a person. And that's just cool that, we are real people and we're friends who happen to be in business together, is a good way to say it, right?
Yeah.
So Lindsey, let's get to it, because they're like, all right, I want to do this. I believe in it more. She struggled, and look at her now. And I want to be like Lindsey. So tell them, what was your financial goal when you started this? I try to say with a straight face, and tell me where it's gone.
It's so funny. I laugh every time. And I talk about it on every one of my GSRs, because everybody needs to know what the opportunity is in front of you, right? It's a true gift. But so I was on a call, like at the beginning, Rock the Basics, when I first started, and you asked me, what do you want? And I was like, oh, okay. So I would love to make $100 a month, because I want a guilt-free pedicure. And as a stay-at-home mom, right, we feel guilty about every purchase that we make for ourselves, whether it's a shirt from Target, and who gets pedicures, without feeling guilty. So $100 to get a babysitter and go get a guilt-free pedicure. That was my goal. Never in a million years, right? You just don't. When you start, you can't fathom that this could become something. But like I said before, the more I just seeked out, I watched coaches. I absorbed every bit I could from successful coaches that just said, just be consistent, be disciplined, right? And I trusted it. I just, had faith in the process, and I just kept going. And, financial successes to where we've been today, it gives me goosebumps. It was also a time when, there was a rough patch at Brian's work, and as a stay-at-home mom, you always have this pull to how can I contribute? How can I do something to take the stress off of him? Or, even if it was a grocery or a car bill or whatever it is, right? And present day, when the oil truck pulls in in the winter, we fill up the oil tank tank and it's, $800 to fill up the oil tank. That used to get me a knot in my stomach when I would hear the oil tank coming up the street. I actually took a picture of it this past winter because of the feeling of like, it's okay. Like I got the oil, bill in 1 week's pay, nonetheless, that not being, I can cover the cost of our entire month of groceries and our mortgage and our taxes and insurance in 1 month's pay now. Right. Small things like I get this week, paying off my car. Like we're going to be like, no
car. You say small things?
Oh, it's not small. You're right. Okay. It's not small, but it's small in comparison to what I'm going to say next. It's not small at all. And let me speak from the place that like when we started Beachbody, we were paycheck to paycheck. Like we were paycheck and it was scary. It was scary. That's why I wanted $100 to just treat myself to something. And, paying off the car, redoing house projects that just get pushed aside because you just don't have funds for that. And then the one that blows all of that out of the water and it just means the most because it's more than just fluff. It's real life, is that, Brian has always had, I'm going to share, but Brian has always had this passion for and wanting to work. He has a family business that his dad runs with his brothers. And his dad's been doing it for years, like 20, 30 years. And Brian's always wanted to join him in that. But financially, it would be a big pay cut for Brian to walk away from that and go work with his family business. And, soon, it's happening soon. He's going to be able to leave his current job and go work with his family and follow that passion. It's kind of top secret. So not think too much like that people are going to blow it up or anything.
Don't tell anyone.
Tell your boss. But the power of that is like, it gives me goosebumps to think that I get to be mom first, right? I do this business, I'm mom, and like I follow a passion because I feel good and I'm strong and healthy and happy and my marriage is stronger. We were not in a good place a couple of years ago, marriage-wise. A lot of people say, oh, you guys have such a great marriage. It took a lot of work to get to where we are today, right? And now on top of it, to be able to be at a place where I can help him fulfill his dream, right? His passion, and relieve that stress. There's not words to be able to do that. And I feel like I'm just getting started, and that Beachbody is really just in its infancy about where this company is going to go. It blows my mind. But
so Lindsey, I just have to quickly say, and I know we got more to cover, but just takes recapping. Yeah. I was sitting in the same office at this desk right here on a Zoom with all the coaches getting to rock the basics. And I had never done this before. I thought, well, maybe I should get everyone together at the beginning of this training. Maybe I should just ask them. The question I came up with that night on a little piece of paper was, what would you do with $100? Because I thought, let me just find out where these people's pain points are. Because $100 tells you what they don't have in life right now. So when you said, another woman on the Zoom said she wanted $100 for new dishes. Mm-hmm. You said you wanted $100 for a pedicure to just have a little escape time. What that tells me, or leaders as a coach, the leaders of coaches, is that people don't have that freedom. People don't have those choices. People don't have that lifestyle. And it was just here 2 years ago. And now look at you guys paying, let's just recap, paying the mortgage, paying the groceries, paying for the propane tank for heat, paying for car insurance, paying off the car, paying for your front porch to get fixed, paying for house projects, and potentially paying enough for Brian to have a better choice in a career is mind-blowing, but real.
Totally real.
All right. And that's what I want coaches to hear. I'm going to jump. So let me hear you guys. Brian, why are you proud of her?
Oh God, there's so many reasons, and honestly, it's not a hard answer. It's generally a really long answer, but I'll try to break it down as best as possible. So, so many reasons that I'm proud of Lindsey, and she's an amazing mom. She's amazing with our I call them our goobers, but they adore her, and I love to see that. It's something that makes me extremely proud. It's something that I love. And as a wife, I mean, she supports me, and she brings so much to the family, and it's just amazing. As a friend, so supportive to so many people, and always available, and truly a rock for some people. So, but really what I'm most proud about you, babe, is because of all, the journey that you've taken over the last year plus, and that personal exploration, that acceptance, and being okay with who you are. The way that you've gotten real and raw and with yourself, and to the point of understanding who you are, and who you want to be, and the things that have held you back in the past, these barriers that you've had emotionally, mentally, and then embracing that, and then further even starting to celebrate who you are. I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that because, the personal barriers that you have overcome, have start to let you understand who I've fallen in love with, and who we as a family have love. And it's amazing to see you find that within yourself. And it really lets you show up in the moment with authenticity, and it's really refreshing and extremely empowering for everyone around you. I love to see it. And, I'd have everyone consider it with those thoughts that, when you show up authentically, you're not just communicating, you're really being better, and you're actually connecting with people, and which is crucial in life as well as this business. So what I'm really truly most proud of is your self-exploration, and you finding who you are and who you've always been, and really being okay with it and celebrating it. I love that.
The Facebook page is blowing up right now with, can we clone Brian? Can we clone Brian? Right. So I'm just predicting. So Lindsey, I know you have things you want to say, but I'm going to interject, unfortunately. That's awesome and amazing. And it speaks for itself. Right. So I'm sure that, Lindsey, that has got to be amazing to hear, hard to hear, because, you're so deserving of that kind of love. And I'm so glad that you have that. And I want to just bring up a point that you dropped really early in the conversation that I think connects here. You said very early on, very briefly, very quickly, that you didn't grow up in a household that had a lot of role modeling of success and love and support like you have today. And you still were able to be the person that you are today. What would you say to somebody else out there who didn't grow up with somebody cheerleading them on and telling they're amazing and telling them they're going to be whatever they want to be and dream big, honey, because that's you? What do you tell those people?
You can do it. I tell them that you are so much, and I tell my challengers, you're so much stronger. You have so much more power. Every one of us has this gift, right, inside of ourselves, to become who we were always meant to be, and what is stopping you? Immerse yourself in people that are positive. Immerse yourself in people that, I'm a huge quote person, like since I've been little, right? Like seek out the people that are going to lift you higher, and it all comes down to our choices. For me, I don't think I would have seen all the negativity. Like I grew up in it, but I don't think I would have seen it if Beachbody didn't come into my life, because all I knew was all I knew. Right. And so being exposed to something like this and getting a glimpse of it was like this whole other world to me. But it felt so good. And so my choice was to relinquish, like pull back in fear, when you think about putting yourself out there and sharing, or to embrace it and run with it, right? And see where it takes you, and through, going through that and, putting myself out there and grow, it's helped me become who I feel like I was meant to be. And then I want to take that person and I just want her to keep getting better. Right. And to pay that forward to other people. So I think that when coaches, say, this is all I know, or I grew up in a negative household, or that doesn't define you, right? You determine your own success. You define you, right? You become who you want to be, and don't let anything in the past, take up space in your present, like they say, or your future. Don't let that, show you who you limit you. That's all it is a limit, so dig deep. And I say it to every coach that comes onto my team, like, you have this gift. Like, Beachbody is workouts and shakes and videos and Zooms, but it is, the core of it is a gift. It is a gift. And I'll say to coaches, are you going to unwrap it, or are you going to stuff it back up on the shelf, right? What are you going to do with that gift? I encourage every coach to unwrap it and wrap it, tear that paper off, like dig in, shred the paper so you can't wrap it back up and put it back on the shelf,
What a great visual.
Yeah. So,
and I can, I thank you for sharing all that. And I see so much when I think back on Shelly Gonzalez's story and her journey and her upbringing and what she has shared in the past with us on Team Rockstar Fit, and how amazing it is that you guys found each other as success partners, that you have great support today, and you didn't necessarily have it growing up, and you still found your way. And there's people listening, Lindsey, that have the flip. They had great support growing up, and maybe they never realized their own expectations for themselves, and they don't have that support in their household today. Well, those people can still be successful too, right? Totally. So you're kind of blowing the top off of what limits us. I want to just end with, I want to end there, but there's coaches listening who just say, logistically, okay, they'll say, I'm inspired by you guys and I want to do what you're doing. And you already heard all the things that Lindsey has done and Brian has done to grow. But if you're wondering kind of what a month in the life of her business looks like, I always like to finish with this, because people hopefully have had a mindset shift. They have a new vision for their own success in front of them. So what does it take? It's no joke. What does it take to lead at your level? What does your month look like? And we'll finish with this one so they can leave with a tangible plan of what a business at your level looks like.
Yeah. And my business has grown, and that will happen for every person. As a new coach, you come in, we give you a power hour. And as your business grows from there, then you commit to more time to it if you want it to go to the next level, But a month at a glance is, as far as challenge groups go, we have a very consistent schedule in our Team Reborn with Maria. The first Monday of every month, we host a short 4-day flush. And a 21-day long group. And it's a general accountability group. It's not program specific. It's just consistent that the first Monday of every month, we host that for 3 weeks. We shut it down for a week, that 4th week, and then we start fresh again the next month, so that our challengers have a break, coaches have a break. It makes it fresh. It keeps it interesting. And then, so the first Monday of every month, and then again on the 3rd Monday of every month, we host another 4-day flush. So that gives my coaches on my team the opportunity to always have something that's super consistent for them, and to always know exactly months in advance they can count on these groups happening on these specific weeks of the month. When I first started, I actually never was in a challenge group. I remember being on my first call and being like, what's a challenge group? So I had no idea, but I just dove in and I said, you know what, I'm going to run with the 5-day. Back then was a 5-day. And I just said every 2 weeks, I just hosted 5 days back to back to back. And we didn't have sample kits back then. So I packaged them up every 2 weeks and mailed them out. Yeah. But the consistency of having something on your calendar, make it consistent, because as the more consistent you can be, that's what, people on Facebook, when you put your post up, that's what people are absorbing. So those are the consistent challenge groups. And then as far as, team and coaching, we have a Team Reborn monthly Zoom, a large one, the first week, and then 2 separate weeks. I block off a couple of hours each week to do the speed dating idea where I'm on. Yeah, I love it. It's been awesome for the whole team. So I'll hop on for 2 hours straight, and each coach can sign up for a 20-minute spot, and we hop on a Zoom, and one hops on. When they're done, they hop off the next, and we can just do like super laser coaching, answer questions. It's been awesome. Great. And then one other week we do like a Rock the Basics or Emerald level or higher Zooms, because your questions and your struggles will change as your business grows. So we make it a little bit more specific another week. So I really try to be there for my coaches, whenever they need it in any way, give them consistency and the time, to answer their questions to help them grow too.
You also host a sneak peek, like a look into coaching the last week of every month, because you've gotten challengers on the first few weeks, and you have a place to put them as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Last week.
So coaches, that is not meant to scare you away. But I don't want to fake it and pretend that this isn't any work, right? So Lindsey's paying their mortgage, their car, like blah, 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 all these things. but she's not kicking back and just getting pedicures all day, right? She is working.
I still don't get pedicures.
Right. Go get one. She is diligent about her calendar. So when she mentions that initially, she's just doing 5-day short, Shakeology clean eating challenges every other week. That is much like other 2-star diamond on the coach, Jen Cadzillo, who just was like, you know what, I'm going to just keep invite consistently every other week. I'm going to send out, care packages of Shakeology, and I'm going to invite like crazy. It has worked. Right. So now Lindsey's gotten to a point where she has looked around at everything that's out there and decided a 21-day, a couple 4 days, a sneak peek, a team Zoom, some laser coaching, some speed coaching. She's taken what she's seen from other people and made it her own. And that is something we can't teach you other than to model it for you. So I love that she's hopefully learned a few things from me and Vito and others and taken it and then packaged it and made it her own. And coaches, that's what your coaches are watching. Are you a confident, consistent leader that they want to follow? Do they believe you're going somewhere that they want to go? Would you say that your coaches, through your struggles and through your, sharing that's not always easy, they do believe that Lindsey wants success for herself and the team?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's giving the opportunity, to help all of them, grow. But, at the end of the day, just, this one quote, I'm a quote person. This one quote came to mind that, you are the only person that determines your success. So even if you are a part of a team where, your upline coach like bailed, or you don't have this, or you don't have that, like, that's just a limitation. Like, you are in charge. Like, work to figure it out, connect with other coaches that do look like they have things going, so that you can get some ideas, but then make it what works for you. And guess what? Like today in Team Reborn, what this calendar is that I just shared with you, maybe in another 6 months, that's not how it's not what it's going to look like. Right. Mm-hmm. But just constantly be evolving and trying and growing. And, success isn't just like that straight shot, right? That we all think it is. It's like figuring it out and setbacks and what, it's right. Just figuring it all out as you go, but just constantly trying to get, better, every day is the goal across the board. So
it's amazing. Brian, in the interest of time, I want to bring this to a close. We try to keep these to an hour, but I want to give you a minute to close with any, comments on the financial success or your own personal success and journey. Anything you'd like to say that you want coaches to hear here at the end?
I could go on for hours, right? But so one of the things I want to get across really is, financial success. It's been amazing for us. It's given us an opportunity in the not so distant future for us to change our lives dramatically, and which creates potential and creates something that I've wanted to do and means a lot to both of us. So that's been an amazing piece of it, and it was never the goal, but now it's reality. So. Which is amazing. And I'm so grateful for that in every way. And Lindsey's diligence and her why and how she goes after things is impressive. So, so one of the things I did want to touch on real quick is what can I do, or what can other guys do in support or how they can get involved. And the very first thing I would say is at the very least, don't be a barrier. As you mentioned before, don't be something that is holding back the person you love, because if they're intent on getting this done, or they want to be part of this, understand why, and they already have enough, there's enough odds against them as a small business owner, but part of that, and really what's important behind that is there has to be some understanding with each other of leveling up, like getting together and understanding that, we have to change. We have to do something different to create new possibility. And it's vital that both individuals in that relationship are really willing to not only change, but do it in an intentional and common direction. So what got us here isn't going to get us there. So our goals are bigger than what we have. And if we don't have any, we're going to be, we're already where we want to be. So and for those things to happen, you have to be on the same page and with that understanding of a common direction. So, and to be on the same page, you got to communicate. So talk, understand what your spouse's goals are, and more importantly, why they have those goals and why are they important to them, and know what that is. And you're so much more likely to be in a position of support and encouragement when you know what that is. And I'd also suggest that expectations have to be discussed. When are you going to work? How are you going to work? If you don't do this, you could be an anchor, even if you are on board and in support of them. For example, I know that from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m, I'm probably not going to see Lindsey. She's working out, doing updates, responding to people. I'm on kid duty, which I love because that's my time with the kids. So first, really communication, understanding why your spouse is doing what they're doing. Continue that communication too. It's not one conversation. It's weekly. It's daily. We talk all the time. I mean, it's something that has to be done, right? And even aside from Beachbody, it's crucial. I'm not the same guy. Lynn's married, and she's certainly not the same person I married. But we're together, growing, expanding together, and it's awesome. So communicate often. Talk about what your partner needs, what they need help with, and it's not exclusive to the business, like Lindsey mentioned before. It's like you could do the laundry or empty the dishwasher. That's a piece of cake, and make a big difference. Like I created a website and I could have just emptied the dishwasher. Like
I know. No, but the point is that support is shown on so many different levels, right? Yes. It's giving that person a hug. It is telling them to push forward. It's telling them to hit post. So you guys have really covered the gamut of big, small, everything in between, what it means to be in partnership. So coaches, wrap it up. Here we go. Communicate, set expectations, daily expectations, big long-term expectations, daily goals. Why do you need to get 10 invites out today? Because I have to hit Success Club 10 this month. Success Club 10 gets us to a trip. It gets us to this. Like, break it down. Show them how it all works. Communicate. And if you're on the line listening right now and you think, I don't have a Brian in my life and I won't be able to do this, that's not the point of this call. The point of this is to bring all things to all people, that those of you who have a significant other, show them this and talk about what it can be. If you don't, listen to Lindsey's story. Listen to her story about where she's come from and who she is today. Her story is powerful in and of itself, and Brian added so much flavor to the Zoom today. But you're also hearing from a mom who used to hate fitness and not have confidence, who is a CEO boss girl of an awesome business today. So coaches, thank you so much for being on. I'm going to be right here dealing with awesome trivia. It's about to blow up. I bet Lindsey and Brian will stay on and help, give you shout outs and answer your questions. Dream big, because all is possible in Team Beachbody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.